Ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready for transformations, or the last unit we're going to do in our geometry review. So the four basic types are, number one, translations. Number two, reflections. Number three, rotations. And number four, dilations. And so those are our four basic types. And now for our first lesson, we're going to learn about one in particular. And it says this transformation sends all the points of a figure in the same distance and direction. This one's called a, look at the picture, if you want to see an example, but it's called a translation. So make sure you write that down. Basically, what you think about with a translation is when it moves the shape. So you can see in the diagram we have, it looks like the shape just slid over, right? So let's see how these examples work. The first one says, what is the image of A, which is a point, -4, 4, under the translation? And whenever you see translations, I know this is a review, but remember, they look like that. So you see a big T with numbers down there, that's what that looks like. So what's it say for our steps? Step one says, label your X and Y coordinates. Well, we go to point A. We know that X is here, Y is there, right? And not just point A, we also want to look at the translation too, right? Remember, this goes with our X, that goes with our Y. Once you write both of those down in step one, step two becomes pretty easy. To write the translation, we just add our X's and we add our Y's. So we're going to do -4 plus -7, and we're going to do 4 plus -3. And now you just solve it. So -4 plus -7 is -11. And 4 plus -3 is 1. The translations are pretty simple. You just match up your X's and Y's, add them together, you're good to go. Let's see a second problem. Now the reason I included this second problem is on the Regents exam, if they give you a translation, they might include a graph. And sometimes they'll say you have to use the graph, other times they'll say it's optional. Regardless, we can follow the same exact path. It says triangle ABC has vertices A, -3, 2, B, 1, -1, and C, 3, 1. What are the coordinates of our new triangle under that translation, -1, 2? So there's our translation again. Step one, still label your X's and Y's. So we go back to the problem. That's an X and a Y. We have an X and a Y here. And then 3 is our X and 1 is our Y. And then also don't forget about the translation. There's your X and there's your Y. And now what you're going to do once again is match up your X's and Y's. Now the key is to understand that we're going to do a translation for point A, a translation for point B, and the translation for point C, but they're all the same translation, so you're going to be okay. So for A, we match up our X's. We're going to get -3 plus -1, and we're going to get 2 plus 2. For B, oh sorry, I forgot remember for the new symbol, that's my bad. The new symbol's there. You have to use the A prime, B prime, C prime, right? For B, back to this one, we match them up. So we have 1 plus -1, and we have -1 plus 2. And then for C, we have 3 plus -1, that's a 3, and we have 1 plus 2. Now if you notice, we're doing the same translation to every point, right? If you look, we have -1, -1, -1, and we have 2, 2, and 2. Because it goes back to this translation, right? So you're doing that same translation to every single point. And then for step 3, we know we just solve them. Which in this case, we just write it a little neater. So our final answers are our A prime is negative 4, 4. Our B prime is 0, 1. And our C prime is 4, 1. Now why did I include the graph? Because if you wanted to, it might ask you to graph all the points. So you'd sit here and you graph negative 4, 4. That's your A prime. And then your B is 0, 1. That's right there. And your C is 4, 1. Right there, right? So this is your triangle right there. So sometimes they'll ask you to use the graph. If you feel more comfortable graphing, you can do it that way. If you wanted to solve this using the graph, you could actually sit there and move them. But I think it's easier to just write the equation. Translations are pretty simple. I think you're onto the example problems. Best of luck. I know you're going to do great.